Thank you. Thank you all for having me. My name's Emma, she, her pronouns. I am going to read two pieces. One the first is not in Bridge, the second is in Bridge via Locus. Both were written during the pandemic, both were written when the weather was cooler, so you'll hear references to both of those things. This first piece came out of a class I was taking and the conversation that would happen every 2 weeks with the unemployment questionnaire. A familiar sound of spring. I used to work in a place where work felt like caring, and there was some divide between the kind of care I provided for money and the kind of care that customers provided for me and for each other. Sometimes that divide felt like a gulf, sometimes I had a boat. From my post on the other side of the counter, I watched Evelyn straighten Chuck's collar because he usually looked like he'd just stumbled out of a hurricane halfway through a 500-page library book with just a fistful of cash enough for a quiche. Evelyn gave us elastic bracelets made of polished stones for chakras. She wore different colors on different days of the week. Red for Thursday, green for Saturday, that's what I remember. Once we talked about the different ways we missed a particular yellow building. I used to work and I felt like one of several mayors. Life was a sitcom. Dependency traded meaning with other words, and that was my job. My boyfriend was also a mayor, and so were my coworkers, and perhaps what I was describing was not fame, but belonging. Belonging was sold to me in blogs and scenes and paparazzi and city council races, which is to say that someone had rigged my sense of belonging so that the answer to the question of belonging was found between who pays you and who do you pay. Belonging is a business, and I didn't know the office hours it kept. I no longer wanted to belong to people who paid me or to my boyfriend who never suggested that I was owned. Too many people knew my name, and commuting felt like a parade, and I was tired of attention. Hello, I waved from my bicycle. Hello. Am I going to or coming from work? Until work stopped meaning anything in particular, and I was always there and was always either babbling or crying. Work was where I tied up my hair and I washed my hands and knew everyone's name and played with fire. This week, I came home blue-lipped from hours spent outside, which had suddenly turned cold. In the shower, I discovered my toes lacked color as well as feeling, their pale blending into the porcelain under vertical rivers. The week had derailed itself with the question of work, and finally I stopped feeling much of anything. Twice recently, I slowed to a shuffle in my neighborhood on a sidewalk narrowed by snow, caught behind Chuck. We must live a block or two from each other now. I watched his small body uncrumpled and ambling to or from one of several tornadoes, and as I try to gauge the speed I'd need to gather to hurry past. Now the streetlights come on too early. Soda orange glow in the early evening before the sun has gone down. It's disorienting. My head aches with light. In the dark, little birds are starting to go winging through gauntlets of skyscrapers. Now their season of work begins, and our tall office buildings get in their way. I haven't made a quiche in years. Every other week I report that I've done nothing of value. It's the same kind of work, but without the money and without the feeling of being the mayor. It's the work of not being caught up and spat out by tornadoes, not falling through ice, of keeping my digits where they belong so that they know where to find me. Thank you. Is that Bridge?
Yeah.
That's the copy?
That's the copy.
Cool. It's not in bulk yet?
No.
Cool.
Great problems.
Oh, that's exciting though.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, here is the piece that's in there that I call Pacing. 1. Each morning they walk the cornice, across against the wind, back and forth, their heads bob and bend. They pause with sloping necks curled in above slim city trees whose branches have been ribboned in ghosts. Plastic wrapping flung up from the street becomes transparent flesh, flossing its weft through the slender woods that stretch from squares sliced in cement. From 2 stories up, scaffold grafted to brick, I watch the thrashing of trash, the pacing of pigeons, the endless blanket of snow. Shops and apartments emptied out for the day, for the year. Bus stop benches seep cold drifts, vapors of powder peel off the tops of cars. Winter settled on our city, her skeleton built on silts and sinking. The quiet spaces aren't vacant, they're beheld among limbs. 2. My aloe is pacing herself. She was the gift of a clipping of an overactive mother given to me at work. I prayed into the crowded void of my backpack to hold her as I biked home. One of her 4 green arms emerged bent. In a month, it turned black. After 2 months of unhappy struggle beside my bed, I moved her to the only south-facing window in the apartment. Everything I thought I knew about care crumbled. I slowed my watering. I left her for months. She revived herself, shrugging off my heavy-handed drowning, my ignorant death wish. She stood up, grew a couple new limbs, all at once, and then so imperceptibly slowly. Maybe it's my eyes. I see the beginning, but not the middle. It's winter, and the south-facing window is frozen glass. With crisp tips, she sits beside the radiator, and I pray over the black box of her soil once again. Pace yourself. 3. As late teens, we fell through the edge of a frozen Lake Michigan, under dark cover of early evening. With denim freezing against our calves, we got warm laughing over waffles at the Golden Nugget. We waded to a friend's show, all ages and rowdy, a place where a body could be pressed against a wall or slammed against another body or leaned into a piece of furniture. We learned how to carry ourselves in the speed of a song. How fast could you fall apart and put yourself back together? The minute-and-a-half execution of curious whims. A song, a scene, a good night is a Cambrian explosion of the internal landscape. In the slow drought now, I go rooting through the fossils, long nights laid for me, picking up the younger selves I left pacing under streetlights. 4. My lover loves space exploration. Over breakfast, she tells me Curiosity has moved 21 kilometers of Martian land in 7 years. That's an average of 13.5 inches a day. That's not useful math. But my aloe grows an inch a month, sometimes in the sun and only when I'm not looking. A woman I had crushed on in high school tells me in passing that she had a crush on me back then, and I feel my younger self go slack-jawed and 12-year-old butterflies take flight. I have no motivation, no desire, just an obtuse satisfaction that I was right. But since when was a crush about being right? A mixtape of self-righteous love songs would be a threat. But curiosity moves at its own pace. In high school, my feet grew to their limit, 11 inches long. Some shoes, they add an inch. So curiosity steps out 1 shoe per day at a pace rewriting desire. Thank you.